Hey there, Pisces, and welcome to your January 2020 Creativity Tarot reading. My name is Kayleigh Jean, and welcome to my channel. I record these readings for artists, entrepreneurs, creatives, and anybody who's interested in their self-expression, personal growth, or spirituality in any form. So if those areas of life are interesting to you, I encourage you to keep listening. And I want to just remind you really quick that you can use these readings for your sun, moon, or your rising sign, and it's also possible if sometimes none of them resonate, especially at the beginning of the month, okay? Because we're looking at future energies here, and it's entirely possible that when you first hear about this, it may not have fully come into fruition, or something about the perspective may be more related to where you are now, and so from that point you don't always see the connection. But what I get in terms of feedback on these readings a lot of times is that the messages don't make sense at the beginning of the month, but they really make a lot more sense at the end. So feel free to go ahead and save this video and come back to it. At the end of the month, you may find that there's some really interesting parallels. Okay, Pisces, let's go ahead and get into your spirit messages. So every reading I meditate before I start the videos, and I'm always looking for whatever insights want to come through symbolically from spirit to kind of convey at the beginning of the reading. And what was coming through for you had first of all this very kind of dreamy energy coming in, and I also felt the presence of like a feminine goddess archetype that is referred to as Kuan Yin. So she's kind of the goddess of compassion, and she has a really interesting story. So if you feel called, I would definitely encourage you to look into the story of Kuan Yin and the myth, essentially, and the lore connected to her. But she's really, she's a deity of compassion, and I felt this really strong presence coming through. I don't know if this is maybe someone in your life that's being very compassionate with you, or if this is you, Pisces, and it actually feels more like an aspect of yourself that you're going to be embodying this month. I specifically feel it for some reason through kind of your art or your self-expression, or maybe even your business. You could be just making the intention or starting to do things that are more charitable or altruistic. You could also be talking about subjects that are personal to you that require a lot of like sensitivity and emotional grace. Okay, so you could be going to, for example, more intimate places with your fellowship if you are an entrepreneur and you have a following. You could be sharing more about a particular part of your life journey that has been difficult, or that you may be concerned about feeling judged by. You could also be just interacting with more people who you can be kind of that gentle, loving, compassionate force for. But I want to really clarify that this isn't like a wishy-washy energy at all. And if you look into like the lore of Kuan Yin, you realize also that yes, this is like a goddess of compassion, but this is definitely a hardcore goddess in a lot of ways. Like this is there's a loving warrior aspect to that archetype as well. It's not just about, you know, feelings and internal things. There's also like real world actions and courage and bravery and you know, stretching and risk taking as well that happens when we are working from this place. So definitely be willing to take some risks, I think, this month, and also as we go into the year. I feel that this is a time that can be very empowering for you because your strengths are like really registering to you, and you're able to use them wisely. Including like your intuitive gifts as a Pisces. Pretty much every Pisces has some really prominent, at least some, you know, really prominent intuitive gifts. But then there's also, you know, the powerful ability that you have to empathize with others becomes, you know, a really big strength for you. And it may also inform your art. For example, if you're an author or a creator, you could be crafting stories or content that really speaks to people who need more of this loving energy in their life. And that's going to be, I think, the key to you being able to serve and open up your path of service to an even greater degree, is operating from that place of deep love and compassion. So let's go ahead and take a look at your cards, and we'll get some more specific messages for you. And we'll also look at your Animal Spirit Oracle cards. Pisces. Beautiful. Okay. Okay, we've got Wolf as your path and Crocodile as the influence. Wow. And this is also kind of the lesson that you're learning as well. So we have a water card and a forest card. We have more of like a leadership-oriented card and a social card with the wolf. And then we also have, you know, the crocodile, which is more of a lone wolf energy or a loner energy. So I'm definitely starting to see some messages coming through. But the first thing I want to say with the wolf card is actually that this is a creature that is very like tied to its group. So they are similar to humans. They're some of the most similar creatures to humans when they're in the wild, because they are daytime hunters and they hunt in groups, which is the same as, you know, indigenous humans. So there is something about the wolf as your path that feels to me like embracing some aspect of community and collaboration. Cooperation with others is like a really big theme for this. And I also want to point out that actually for you, this stellium in Capricorn is actually, it's in your 11th house, which is a very social house. Symbolically, this can show up as, you know, with this major stellium in Capricorn, it can bring about themes of like what groups do you affiliate yourself with? What organizations are you a part of? What friend groups do you put time and energy into? What groups of people do you invest yourself in? Basically, like that's a really big theme. And I think that there could be, with this wolf card, some element or impact of like taking a new role or taking on leadership within a group. So somebody might be asking you, if you're maybe part of a regular meetup type of thing, maybe the person who usually leads it could be contacting you and be like, hey, you know what, I can't make it this month. Would you be willing to, you know, lead the proceedings? Or, you know, if you're part of like a spiritualist group or a coven or even a book club, you know, somebody might be saying, okay, Pisces, it's your turn to pick the book that we're going to read and analyze. So there's this kind of energy that's showing up here about taking a new role in a group setting. But at the same time, your lesson card is the crocodile. So this is a very watery energy. Like I said before, it has a lot to do with rest and knowing when the right time to strike is. And I don't mean strike in kind of a harsh way, but these are predator creatures. So let's be fair here. When we're working with the symbolism of the animal world, we are also working with the symbolism of these closed circuit, you know, environments where creatures consume each other, and there's this whole kind of interrelated symbiosis that happens. So there is a sense of like maybe needing to be assertive at the right moment, Pisces, and that may not always be the thing that you want to do, but when you sense that it is the right moment to be assertive in a situation or take a leadership role, or even set a boundary. I could see both of these creatures, since they are kind of more predator creatures, they are at kind of a powerful standing within their environment. And this is about kind of owning that and recognizing that you have a responsibility to the people that you have either sworn to protect with the wolf energy that definitely comes through, or with people who can't maybe take those actions on their own behalf, or beings who maybe cannot take those actions on their behalf. So again, I'm coming back to this theme of maybe getting more involved with something altruistic, getting more involved with something that has some element of activism behind it or some element of caring behind it. And also this could mean in your own personal life, you're going to be tasked this month with this idea of setting firmer boundaries in a way. But remember, all this meditative energy that came in when I was tuning in for you was all about compassion. So you're obviously going to be doing it in a loving way, but this is coming through maybe to balance that message and saying, you know, sometimes the most compassionate thing that you can do for someone is to set a boundary with them. It's a paradox. It doesn't always feel that way, but it really is. Sometimes the most compassionate thing you can do is to be firm, to be true to yourself and true to, you know, your beliefs and your truth, and to be clear and direct as well is also something that can be really compassionate. So let's go ahead and take a look at your cards. We've got the Four of Wands, Three of Pentacles, King of Swords, the Tower, wow, Queen of Wands, the Sun, Page of Cups, and the Ten of Wands. Interesting. So, Pisces, I feel like as you go into the year, you're pretty solid in certain areas of your life, particularly either with your home life or your work life. It seems like there's something really good that's going on here as you enter 2020. It's like you're either achieving something, or with the Three of Pentacles, again, there's this theme of cooperation coming through. Maybe people asking you to share more about what you do, or to give a presentation. Remember, we were just seeing these groups and you possibly leading something. Well, here's somebody kind of leading a conversation and also doing some work that's being observed by others. So it's like this very kind of positive loop happening. And we also have this kind of ritualistic, almost like threshold card with the Four of Wands here, where you can imagine when you walk under this wreath and the wands here, this represents a threshold. This is a change in your consciousness that is being symbolically represented by like a ritual space. So I'm seeing altar kind of work here. I'm seeing maybe even ceremony here, whether that's personal, spiritual ceremony that you hold for yourself, or like I said before, if you're part of a group or a coven, or if you're graduating from a training or something like that, there's this kind of sense of like, okay, here's this symbolic representation of what you've completed, right? And then there's at the same time this like new respect in you and your craft and what you do. So this is really good. This is a really beautiful way to start the month and the year. I feel really like this shows me that you have the foundation to weather the ups and downs of this new journey that you're on. Like, this is a fortuitous beginning, right? And there's always going to be ups and downs, but this looks really good as far as like having a strong foundation. But these are young cards. They're 3 and a 4. So there's things that are going to follow that, which are going to add to the depth of the situation and add to the depth of what you're capable of doing, Pisces. So by the time we get to this lunar eclipse, which is happening on the 10th, and then we also have the Saturn-Pluto conjunction on the 12th of January, this eclipse the lunar eclipse is in Cancer, at 20 degrees of Cancer, which is in harmony with your sign. It's one of your most alike signs. It's a fellow, sister sign, as they call it, the water signs. And so there's a sense with this eclipse energy that it is actually very much conducive to you. As well, the stellium in Capricorn is in a positive relationship to you. It's a sextile to you. And it's also in your 11th house, which is, again, like I said before, social things, networks, colleagues, your professional standing in groups, and things like that. So I do feel like, astrologically speaking, this is a harmonious energy. But with the Tower and the King of Swords, it's kind of like things could be being really quickly shaken from the temple. And what's actually coming to mind is a biblical reference of when Christ was kind of turning the tables over and shouting and kind of ripping up the stuff that belonged to the money changers, because he felt like they were taking advantage of people who didn't really understand the system, and they were overtaxing and just really doing some things that weren't conducive to everybody else around them. They're being more selfish, I guess. And so this energy with the King of Swords, like, this is a card that in its highest aspect can represent integrity and ethics and kind of objective thinking, which is the ability to kind of step outside of yourself, right, and see a situation where there may be some legitimate unfairness, and being able to not react to that subjectively, but really be able to analyze the situation from a higher vantage point, and really to know what is fair, or what would be right, what would be a just thing to do, how to handle that situation, basically. But you have to kind of remove what's best for you personally if you want to be a really clear channel for that kind of wisdom. It's a very rational wisdom. It's a very logical wisdom. And with this King of Swords looking over at the tower, it's almost like this gives me this feeling of either some kind of cosmic justice being served, not like against you, I don't feel, but it could be around you, Pisces. It could be that something that is just either shady or no longer in your highest good or in many people's highest good, something is being kind of really quickly transformed, and it's being thrown off, right? It's being kind of like this lightning bolt is striking, and these people who have been doing things that are not so conducive to like the group, or like they're not doing things that are conducive to like the betterment of everybody, they're kind of falling from the tower. So there could be this moment around the eclipse where this could be symbolic, like this could be happening in some way that's not like super, super big for some of you, because this is a general reading, but it's like you're aware of it. You're realizing that someone around you who had, maybe not towards you, but could be towards you, who's used authority in a little bit of a negative manner, you could start to see like the consequences of that happening for that person. And if you have been not realizing how your actions have affected others, then you could see some of this energy showing up in your own life. But it's to kind of show you the new way to do things, the more conducive, more like a overall accepting way of going about things. So that could definitely be a factor here as well. And for some of you, it could be like, I've used this example, it's like if you work within a company, or if you work within an environment that has some shadowy stuff that's been coming to the surface, you could start to see all of that stuff kind of coming out, and multiple people telling their stories about, okay, yeah, you experienced that, I experienced that too. And so there's this big kind of awakening, but it really shakes things up, and people are talking, people are talking again, because the King of Swords is the communicator. So people are talking about things, you're going to be talking about things. And again, you have this wolf card as your path. So your role is probably to, it's to contribute to the conversation. Like, really, that's what I see here, Pisces. So I think that you're going to be in a good position with this. I don't see this affecting you negatively. I see this being something that really tears down an old order that had some shadow elements to it, and seeing what can be reconstructed with the pieces of that kind of old thing, and add in some new energy as well. The really like beautiful creative energy that I was picking up for you as well in the meditation is showing up in the third week of January. So I don't know what you have planned that week, Pisces, but if you don't have anything fun planned for yourself, I think that would be, now would be a great time to start planning for something like that. You could be going on a trip somewhere warmer if you're in kind of a cool environment or cold environment right now, or you could just have some really nice like sunny days in the third week of January that are just unusual for your area. You could also be going on, like I said before, some trips or travel, or this is just, if it's none of those things, then this really does look to me like a very constructive and creative time for you, where you're going to be feeling very inspired to work on your creative projects. You're going to be feeling fired up. You're going to be feeling confident and optimistic. So that third week of January is one to watch. It's one to really explore the things that you are passionate about at that time, because you will make so much of that time. And this is almost that kind of thing where you'll hear about these famous authors who wrote the rough draft of one of their novels in like 3 or 4 days. You know, it's that kind of thing, because when we have the Queen of Wands, we have this wellspring of energy and enthusiasm for what we're doing. And when we have the Sun, we have this sense of the cosmic energies around you are in harmony with this thing that you're wanting to focus on. So you have the inner energy, and the universe also is providing the right conditions, and it's like the perfect storm for you to get so much done. So I think that would be a really good time, like I said, to really focus on a project, maybe a writing goal if you're an author, putting together like your website if you are working on a new website for your business, or it's your first website for your business. Really, there's going to be a ton of creative energy, so I think that can be really exciting. So just give yourself permission to work on that. Now, the third week of January, we have the Page of Cups and the 10 of Wands. So this is going to be a time of kind of winding down some of this like intensely creative, productive energy that we saw the week before, but it's going to maybe recede a little bit. But the message with the Page of Cups is, if this is something that you really want, then it's up to you to kind of continue to maintain your excitement so that it can last into the next couple of months, or however long it is that you're going to feel you need to work on this project before you're done with it. I think that it's important not to burn yourself out. Okay, so by the end of the month, you might be feeling like the effects of, oh my gosh, I just wrote 100,000 words in 2 weeks, or oh my gosh, I just, built my entire website from the ground up, and there was so much research and so many hours that went into that. Now what? Now it's done. What do I do? So there's this kind of energy. I think you can really feel what I'm saying. By the end of the month, it's great. You're still very excited about this with the Page of Cups. You're still very much in this place of openness and receptivity and optimism about the future of this thing, whatever it is. But you're also going to need to watch your physical usage of your energy. Okay, so if you're overworking, you need to sleep a little bit more. You might need to eat a little bit more calories to make up for the extra calories that you've been burning, because we forget how many calories the brain burns. Even if you're just sitting down working on something creative, or if you're like me and you make videos, it's deceptive, because you'll think, oh, I was just sitting down all day, or if you work in an office or something like that, you're just sitting down all day, you didn't burn that many calories. But if you're focusing hard and you're having conversations and you're thinking on your feet, or if you're being very creative, like I was saying before, and you're working with, all of these numbers or figures or words in your head, you're using a lot of energy by doing that. And so it's important not to underestimate that. I know one thing that helps me when I don't get enough sleep or when I'm overworked is just increasing my caloric intake just a little bit, not going overboard with it, but just a little bit, because it's true that you are just using more of your physical energy, and you have to kind of make that up somehow, or you could end up feeling just a little bit more run down. Also, because this is a water card as well, definitely make sure that you're drinking enough water, because you might be getting a little dehydrated with all this work that you're doing. So be sure to drink enough water. There's a fish here. Maybe get some protein or some good fats in your diet as well, from whatever sources are the right ones for you. But there's just a real need to kind of nourish yourself and replenish and restore your energy after what seems to be a very successful and powerful time around the middle of the month. And this could also be like, if you're not working on a big project, this could be starting a new job, acing an interview, going out and helping lead an event or a workshop with a friend, or meeting a bunch of people that are going to be important to your future in your profession or your career. Like, this can go a lot of ways, but I hope you kind of get what I'm saying. Like, the lights are on and you're shining a lot. So you're gonna, by the end of the month, need to kind of come back and really take those extra steps to nourish yourself so that you can recover. Okay, Pisces, I hope this reading has been helpful. I think that this is going to be a really exciting month for you. I think that your energy is very much in alignment with what's going on astrologically right now. So enjoy it, take care of yourselves, and thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate reading for you guys every single month. And if you're still with me, why don't you leave me a little fish emoji below and just let me know. It feels like a little hug every time you guys do that. So love to hear from those of you fishes out there who are still with me. And yeah, have an amazing month. Give this video a like or a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Share it with a Pisces friend who you think could benefit from these messages. And I wish you tons of blessings as you move onward into the new year. Bye, Pisces, and I will talk to you next time.